Hey everybody, I'm Bill Whittle here with CN Live on NRATV. We're back after an incredibly fun half hour with our friend Frank Schlichter, talking about all kinds of wonderful things and how we're just having ourselves a fine old time here in Donald Trump's America, watching everything slowly just lighten up and brighten up, and that's always happy news. Now, we've got a regular guest of ours, a friend who is really an expert. His name is Frank Winn. Obviously, he works for America's First Freedom magazine. Frank, there you are. It's good to see you. And before we get into the details of the cool stuff you always bring us, we've been talking pretty much all day and yesterday that it takes a couple months for us just to walk around and realize that not only are these fundamental freedoms not under attack anymore from the federal government, they actually seem to have a pretty strong defender and a pretty good cabinet behind him.
That's a great point, Bill. I had the same sort of epiphany just in the last week or so. Holy cow, it's really true. I don't have to look over my shoulder every minute for my First, Second, and other constitutionally guaranteed rights. And it's a real pleasure.
Frank, do you find, again, I definitely want to get into the details of what you brought us, but do you find sometimes, especially right after the election and around the inauguration, you would hear leftists saying, all right, that's it, I'm going to go buy a gun because Donald Trump is president. When I hear them say something like that, I say, welcome to the club. Good. That's exactly how you should be thinking. You should not be trusting the government. You should be prepared to defend yourself against a government that you don't like. I think you're wrong about Trump, but you got the right idea. Have you seen any of those people come in and talk to you at all?
I have not directly, Bill, but there are subtle things that I'm seeing in print that I'm overhearing, quite frankly, that I think indicate that that's correct. And your point is a timeless one. It's not that government is intrinsically foul or has malice in mind. It's the nature of great bureaucracies the world over. They take on the characteristics of a living thing, and what they feed on is liberty.
That's right. And I suspect, I know it's hard to believe, but I suspect that Hillary Clinton was not as corrupt a person as she is today, because 30 years the press has been throwing their cloak of invisibility over her and giving her the impression she can get away with whatever she wants to. So that's exactly right about what power does to people. Frank, I hope you don't mind the little play on words here, but it seems like we are winning like crazy. So what have you got for us today for us to have a look at?
Well, and let's hope it keeps up. What we're going to talk about. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No, I'm sure it will. After you.
What we're going to talk about today is a great rifle in a classic American pattern. This is the Springfield Saint. By the way, you can see empty rifle, no bullets, no magazine. Got to do the little safety dance there.
And we appreciate it.
Well, a lot of people are wondering, one of the very common questions I get about this rifle is why in the world did Springfield Armory, with of course a name that goes back very nearly to revolutionary times, wait so long to bring out a modern sporting rifle on the Eugene Stoner classic AR pattern? And I think one of the things that I would say after getting a chance to shoot it pretty extensively is they took their time and got it right. This is a very, very economical rifle, but it's a fine, fine shooter. And anyone that's interested in let's hope they never have to use it that way, in a defensive modern sporting rifle, but also sporting being the operative word, this is going to represent a very modest investment for a really fine rifle.
It is a fine-looking rifle, and of course it's covered with the Picatinny rail, so you can customize it. I had a friend of mine tell me when I bought my AR-15, he said, this is Barbie for boys. You know, you can put so many things on these things, and I've never seen two rifles that are the same anymore once those rails became available. What does it come with? Are we looking at the model as it comes out of the box right there?
That is exactly right, Bill. We're looking at the base model here. You can see we've got Bravo Company furniture, both 6-position adjustable stock, a nice grip, and the handguard. Handguard has location positions here, both Picatinny on the top of the receiver, but also you can put accessories at 10 and 2, and then also on the bottom of the rifle. Conventional sight tower, A2 style sight tower. One of the things I like particularly about this is a folding rear sight. As we'll talk in a few minutes, you fold this down and it allows you to mount an optic, either a conventional optic or a red dot optic on top of the rifle.
And you can get it up if your optic fails. You need to go back to your iron sights.
Exactly right. Exactly right. The optic that we first used on this is the Sig Sauer Romeo 4, and we practically didn't change. The performance of the Sig sight, this is a relatively new thing for Sig, these red dot sights, and actually all their optics. But as you mentioned, were this optic to fail, we'll open the caps here just so people can see how it would normally work. This is a red dot optic, 1 power magnification, but were this optic, say you lose your battery, not very likely, 5,000 hour continuous battery life, motion sensing auto off would extend that life to as many as 50,000 hours according to
So you don't have to worry
literature.
about leaving it on and putting it in your bag. Yeah.
Exactly right. But if you pop up that rear sight, you can see that the sighting line goes right through the sight so that you don't have to remove this.
So you're basically seeing the iron sight through the optics. Even if the red dot goes out, you're still able to get a bead on a target.
That's exactly right. And in fact, the caution they took with putting the backup sights, although they were primary in the way the rifle sold, they took the time to really get these aligned correctly. When we first put on this red dot sight, all we did was align it with the front post through the fine rear aperture here. We were hitting at 200 yards right off the bat.
You didn't have to dial it in; it was just pretty much perfect.
That's right. Well, we had to make small adjustments to move the dot to match the post as it was centered in the rear aperture. But it
went on the rail pretty much dead on.
That's exactly right.
Incredible. The barrel looks a little beefy. Is that 5.56?
It is 5.56. It's sort of a medium contour, we'd call it. There's a medium length gas system on this rifle. I think I said 16-inch. One of the things I like the best is the 1 in 8 twist. I think that's the most versatile twist because it will still spin the lighter bullets. The very common 55 grainers are going to shoot well out of this rifle. But with careful bullet choice, and especially if you're a hand loader, you're going to be able to shoot bullets up to 80 grains out of this rifle. Wow. Very few people are ever going to do that. They're going to have a specialized rifle to shoot that heavyweight bullet. But if that's all you could get your hands on, it's a great choice. We shot up to 77 grain bullets out of this rifle and had superb results.
Do you prefer it over basically just the stock AR-15 design?
Well, this rifle mimics all the good features of the stock AR-15. Of course, it's bi-caliber, as they all are. It's really designed to shoot 5.56, but it can shoot .223 Remington, which the 5.56 by 45 cartridge is based on. So you shoot either one in this gun, and this particular rifle was very unfussy, I guess is the word. It used every magazine we stuck in it. It shot every type of ammunition. That's actually kind of rare and gets me back to that initial point about the Saint may have arrived a little late at the party, but it sure came dressed to play.
Yeah, that's well said. You know, I got the bolt replacement for my AR-15. It lets you shoot 22 longs, and it just goes tink, tink, tink. I don't even think there's enough recoil to actually operate the bolt, but man, you can be out there all day and spend, $4 whole. What about the cleanliness of the mechanism? Obviously, needless to say, it was a long time ago, but the initial M16A1s got a little persnickety when they got dirty. How does this thing hold up under actual field conditions?
Yeah, it's a great point because. And the end of that story is, a lot of people have heard that story, and they don't understand that it had nothing to do with the rifle. The problem there was a change out of specification on the powder that the ammunition was loaded with. As soon as they got the correct powder in the cases behind the bullets and the correct cartridges in the gun, these guns ran great, even in the difficult conditions in Southeast Asia during Vietnam.
So the powder that they put in originally was just fouling the chamber so much, and you were getting misfires because it wasn't the correct explosive that the rifle was designed for.
Well, the initial cartridges during the Army tests were all made correctly. But when they started to make them in big numbers, when this rifle was first fielded in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War, they changed to a powder that Eugene Stoner and Sullivan and Fremont, all the design guys would have said, no, that's not going to work. Too much ash, if you will, too many combustion byproducts left in the action. This, by the way, is a direct impingement rifle. It's not a piston gun.
Okay, well, Frank, we're going to come back right after the break, and thank you for that. By the way, that's a, that reputation stuck to that weapon for a long time, and it didn't really deserve that tag following around. It's good to know that it's not something I was aware of. We're going to be back in just a few moments to continue our discussion with Frank Winn and his incredible rifle. There, we'll talk some more about some details, and we will be back in just a moment. This is CN Live on NRATV.